Today's not that planned out. You know, sometimes I wake up with video ideas and I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. And then there are days like today where it's like, yeah, I don't really know what to do. I think what we're gonna do instead is just hang out in the shop together. I'll show you what my project is, but before I do, I'll say this, like I've seen wonderful woodworking videos where there's like great shots, close-ups with this bokeh in the background, and they really show these artisans, and it's great. And I thought I should do that. I put those videos on Woody's Lab, and that's what it will become. Today's not that day. I've seen videos too that I enjoy a lot actually, where mechanics are working on something and they're cursing and grumbling and they've got a flashlight in their mouth and they're trying to sort things out. This I think is going to be closer to one of those, but I'll show you what I'm up to. This rusty but glorious tool is my table saw. If you guys missed, I think it was Thursday's video, we covered this in more detail when we fixed it. I showed you how it like doesn't cut humans and stuff like that. Check out Thursday's video. It's pretty cool and it goes over this. Today's video, we're gonna get started on an outfeed table. As great as this table saw is, in my opinion, it's only half as good as it could be without an outfeed table, and I'll show you why. All right. Let's pretend I was cutting this crappy piece of wood, right? As I push this through the saw blade, which would be here, everything is fine, right? Everything's going good. And then as I get towards the end, it wants to fall off the back, and that's no good. So to compensate, what you'd have to do is put your hand like across this dangerous and scary blade to hold your workpiece on the far side and then kind of like swing it around and put it someplace to stay. That's no good. You know, what you want to be doing is taking a push stick, pushing it past it, and not messing with it anymore. That's what the outfeed table's for. Beyond that, here, I'll set up again. This is the space that the outfeed table will be occupying. And I'd like something good and strong, like something that I could jump on and not worry about, so that I can store a lot of pieces here while I work on them here. So it wouldn't be weird to have like a bunch of wood cut to size and then maybe hand cut dovetails over here for the joinery or tenons or whatever. Sometimes you get things to mostly fit. Maybe you drilled out the mortise and you have to square the edges. I do stuff like that on this workbench. So it'd be nice to have a strong table here where all the wood like queued up. You know, I want a table here as sort of a waiting area so I can work on them here. So just a big, fat, strong table here. Now, I'll mention, I've made some like nice things in my time. This isn't going to be one of them. It's just shop furniture. And you know, the cliche amongst woodworkers is, you know, it's not what goes into your shop, it's what comes out of it. And I'm trying to have that true for this table too. Also, I'm rusty. I haven't done woodworking in a few years. So I'm just going to slap together an outfeed table that's sturdy but shop grade. So speaking of shop grade, I bought some plywood at Home Depot. I got their nicest stuff, which is junk for furniture grade stuff. I think they call it sand ply, BC, if you understand wood grading. It is what it is. Like, it looks okay, but I wouldn't waste time building anything really nice with it. But for shop furniture, that crap fits the bill perfectly. I'll grab it. This is actually the first time I carried plywood into this shop. The ceilings are really high, like here. If that's 8 foot, the plywood, the ceilings must be like 11 or something. I'm not really sure, but it makes it nice for carrying big materials. My last shop had a high ceiling, but the garage door was like 7 feet off the ground, maybe I think it was an 8-foot garage door, but when it went over and down, maybe 7.5 feet. So I really had to like walk with a bended knee because the 2-car garage door was effectively the ceiling height, and it made it hard to carry plywood. This is up high, makes it easy. So my table saw is only 7 foot 2.5 inches. I considered making the outfeed table the full 8x4 sheet of plywood, like, bigger, bigger, bigger. And I think I might still go 4 feet out, which is more than I need, just because I like the size. But I'm not gonna go 8 feet across. And the reason is, like, imagine I had a big sheet of plywood on here that I was pushing across. On the end, it might dip a little, like it could do that. And I don't want an outfeed table coming out to here because if it dips and then hits it, it'll want to skew off center, it'll cause problems. So the outfeed table needs to be either perfectly level with this, which we might be able to pull off, or something like a 1/16 or an 1/8 lower so that it always flows across. And but it can't be bigger because, like I said, if it hangs, it'll bump into the side of the outfeed table, and that's no good. I should mention, a lot of this stuff has safety repercussions. Like if things get hung up, then they could catch and throw. You know, the table saw could grab it and throw it back at you. If things get hung up, you know, the woodworker, me in this case, could get tempted to like jiggle and work things. The safest way to cut is for things just to flow through the saw smoothly and predictably. So I want that to happen all the time. I don't want to be reaching past it, aside it. I don't want to be like separating things. Everything should go smoothly and predictably, and the outfeed table needs to facilitate that. That's why it's not going to be bigger than the table. It's going to match it. So I bought leveling feet to deal with any imperfections. Like my floor is not perfectly flat and smooth. So the leveling feet will be able to like screw and unscrew to help me deal with that. But I need to get it close enough that I can kind of measure what the height should be. Side note, I looked for leveling feet at Home Depot when I bought the plywood, and the ones they had seemed flimsy, and I want a table that's really strong. Back on topic, in terms of measuring height, you can't trust much because I hold the camera crooked and stuff, but that is crooked compared to that. I'll show you. So when I put this on the floor, do you see that leveling bubble? I mean, it's a little off to the side, but it's mostly between the guidelines. And the whole floor slants this way for drainage and stuff, so water doesn't like pool in the middle or whatever. So it slants towards those doors. But if you go up here, it's not between the guidelines anymore. It used to be worse. So I need to sort out what's happening. Why is the base pretty much level? Oh, and we can measure the floor too. I bet it matches the base. It does. So the floor and the base are just off level, and the table saw is kind of significantly off level. What's the deal with that? So I normally make my own shims, but we just happen to have these like composite shims laying around the house, and they look like this. You see they're real narrow at one side and thick at the other. So I'm gonna lift it while she slides it in, and we're gonna try to make this thing level. Wish us luck. Oh, look at that. You good? Because it's good.
I broke one.
That's okay. Nice. All right, some time has passed since we last spoke, and I've made a few design decisions, so I thought I'd share with you where I am. I'm going to do L-shaped legs, right? So they're going to look something like that on the four sides. I made a mistake. All right. Right? So there will be the four legs. Inside, this is a vertical view, by the way. And this, just for reference, is the table saw. There's a blade somewhere around there, right? Forgive the handwriting, I'm not trying. All right, so these four legs are going to sit around there. And then interior to that will be a shelf. So somewhere about halfway down will be like a big shelf in the middle of it. And then on top will be a larger shelf that is the same size as the saw, or the tabletop, that is. And of course there'll be like center beams on each of these things so that it doesn't bow in the middle. That's the rough design on what this thing needs to look like. The first thing I'm going to cut are these guys. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 8 of these guys times. I'm going to start at 48 inches because that's the width of plywood, although that'll narrow down later. And then I want this, I think, to be 4 inches wide. So I'm going to start by cutting them 5 inches because I want to get a little tricky. I need to think it through, maybe off camera, but I'd like these to be mitered so that when you look at it from the side, you don't have a plywood edge, which is that, like, it looks like this. Got a piece right here. This plywood edge, you know, if you can hide that, you do. So I'm going to cut them 5 inches and then like miter them to size. And if this length right here turns out to be something that's not perfectly 4 inches, it's not a big deal. 3.5, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm just looking to have an L-shaped leg with a mitered edge. So 4 times 8 is 32, but if we make it 5, 8 by 5 is 40. So I'm going to take a sheet of plywood, if that were a sheet of plywood, and cut it 40 inches. Oh, it'll actually be over here. 40 inches, and then I'll have that to work with to make the 8 sides of my 4 legs. So let's give that a go. All right. Now, I really wish I had an outfeed table to help me make the outfeed table, but you know, you work with the shop you have, not the shop you wish you had, and instead I have a boy. Are you ready, handsome?
Yep.
All right.
Let's go.
Are you ready? Don't touch.
Okay.
All right, we did it, mostly. It's pretty good. This big piece we'll use for something soon, I'm sure. And that we're gonna make legs out of. All right, now we're gonna cut it into the strips that will make the legs, and hopefully we can keep doing this safely. You ready?
Yep.
Now that this overhead guard is in place, we can use it to cover the blade, keep things a little bit safer. So what we just made were these 8 L-shaped pieces for the 4 legs. What I want to make now are these aprons, which will form like the structure. They'll fit into the interior of those L-shaped legs. And if I make those, then I should have something that actually stands on its own, which should be pretty cool. And I need to measure these out, see how big I really want them so that the feet sit where I want them to. But my next step are those pieces. And I need 2 of them. One for the, here, I'll make a quick and dirty drawing. It bled through. But if the table looked like this, let's start over. If the table looks like this, I don't know if this is going to work out. And the legs, you know, came down like this. Pretending that that shouldn't be so long. There's going to be an apron that kind of connects these like that in the middle of the length of the table. Let's pretend this was the floor. And then there's going to be another one right under the surface. These are the pieces that we're making next. Just thought I'd point something out. I've had literally hundreds of people ask me why I put these sockets so high, and there's a couple of reasons. One is plywood. This is 4-foot plywood, and I can store plywood and still reach my sockets, which is nice. There's going to be times when plywood leans up. The other thing is I dream of having something like, maybe picture like a kitchen cabinet here with a chop saw on top, where I can, you know, cut lengths of wood down to size. So I could put cabinets here or plywood here and still reach the power. That's why it's so high. I know it looks weird when it's naked on the wall, but that was the theory. Get them up, out of the way. All right, Colin, we're gonna cut 4 pieces, but I have to remeasure between each one.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, Colin, 4 more, this time for the top and bottom of the narrow side of the table.
Yep, let's go.
Okay. All right, I've got a bunch of crosscuts to do, so I broke out the crosscut sled. What I do is I just measure it one time and then put a clamp in place. And then when I cut the next one, I can slide the clamp up right up to the same spot. You know, I want it to be exactly 40 inches, but it's even more important that they're all the same than it is like if they're off by an 1/8, because it's just a freestanding table. But if they're not the same, then it won't be square. So anyway, let's do some cutting. I've got like 12 more crosscuts, so I'll do that off camera. All right, so I'm going to show you the pieces, and tomorrow we're going to assemble them. What I have here laid out on the table that you'll see in a second is this apron piece. So come to here. This is the apron, and this is the size of the that the outfeed table is going to be. What comes next, here, I'll show you. All right, so my next step here is to drill some screws through this. Woodworkers out there will know that's an incredibly weak joint, just a screw mechanical joint. But that is only to hold it for assembly, because after that, we'll screw and glue this mitered L on the side, and the glue is incredibly strong, stronger than wood is, so that'll be fine. I'll capture this, and then hope, can you get the corner angle here from this direction? Lower. There you go. And it should look nice. That's why we did the miter cuts like this. So the edge of the leg will look like that. You won't even know there aren't 4 parts really. And it'll capture, get the aerial view, nice and strong like that. And this is what the top of it will look like. There'll be an identical thing midway through that is a shelf that prevents racking forces. I'll explain racking forces maybe tomorrow. And that's it for today. I hope you liked the video. I think these will get better and better as I get more experienced filming them, and I'll know what I have as I edit it. That's when I know if my videos are good or not. But today was a really productive day. Beyond just getting those pieces cut to size and buying the wood and things like that, there was a lot you didn't see just in terms of like opening up the shop, getting it started, bringing materials in, I don't know, just cutting your first piece of wood takes a whole lot just to get things set up. And I feel good about that. So tomorrow when we come in here, I think I was gonna say I'll just walk in and start working, but I think for the next 3 months, I'm gonna say like, this isn't right, that isn't right. I wish I had this near me and that near me. I need more shelves, etc. But it'll be better than today because the shop is open and that's cool. Extreme close-up. I'm really freaked out. I just chipped my tooth. I'm gonna show it to you. It's not very chipped, it's a small thing, but to me, it feels giant. And like here, see how close I can zoom in. I'm gonna put my finger behind it so you can kind of see. It's this tooth, and it's like the bottom corner. It's normally smooth here, and it's not smooth anymore. And the front of it is not smooth either. It's like I chipped the face off of it. And I make my living on camera, so that just makes it extra awesome, right? It should be cool. My wife reminded me that our dentist is the one who does like the beauty pageants or something. I don't know, Miss America dentist or She's like, it'll be fine. He'll fix it right up. He'll make it perfect. It might be better than before. Maybe put some bond thing on it or who knows. But for right now, man, they used to be so much smoother. We'll call them tomorrow.
Multi-million-dollar deals, got $1 million deal. When I was younger, I would wonder how $1 million feel. And for real, it feel like I ain't even broke a seal. Cause when you drop hits, they want you to pick up the bill. Now my life is in Maryland, my heart is in Chicago. New York state of mind, but out LA, man, that's where I go. When I need to lay this shit down, so much on my mind, that's the reason I'm spitting now. Finally running the game and everybody tripping now, but I could give it.